Mel Brooks doesn't need to prove anything at approaching 100. He has 3 Oscars, starred in many outstanding films, and is beloved by fans. Behind the cheers and fantastic performances is a Mel the public rarely sees. Mel remembers every insult co-star who crossed the line and every hearing. Mel Brooks officially names his 6 least favorite performers after years of experience. Not small conflicts flew over. Someone said they were serious behind-the-scenes events that influenced his career and lingered after filming. If you believe you know Hollywood, this list may change your view. Let's begin. Mel's crazy circus didn't suit Gene Hackman, the serious actor. Hackman played young Frankenstein to get beyond hard-edged dramas. He asked Gene Wilder for any small comedy role, and Mel Brooks joyfully cast him as the blind hermit, the compassionate host who scalds the monster with soup and burns his thumb. However, the 3-minute scenario took days. Hackman was early every morning, lines cold, notebook full of inquiries. Why is soup boiling? How heavy is bread? Hermit learned to pray where? Mel answered, then turned on the cameras. Hackman requested 5 more. That's his method. Brick by brick, build our role. Mel prefers to throw bricks and chase strange landings. Practices were like tempo battles. Mel shouts looser, louder, weirder versus Hackman's measured baritone. Crew felt no anger, just rhythm confusion. Peter Boyle and Marty Feldman broke up repeatedly. Hackman never grinned. However, his gloomy grace made the monster suffering funny. Lunches showed cultural clashes. Song and dinner roll flew at Mel's table. Hackman sat aside, script open, treating the set like a monastery. His presence felt like the principal visiting recess. Crew members joked. 24 takes and everything aligned. Soup, cigar thumb, genuine blessing, and Mel shouted cut. Hackman smiled briefly. They understood that was probably their last shot. Schedules and clarity suit Hackman. Mel loves surprise and turmoil. While parallel lines rarely meet, the friction created a comedic situation still taught today. Brooks joked that directing Hackman was like playing jazz with Shakespeare. Different physics, no bad notes. Hackman never overspent or underperformed. He demanded Mel's remarkable calm and precision. The result, pure gold, respectful conflict between control and mayhem. The laughing tornado Dom DeLuise drove Mel Brooks crazy. Dom DeLuise was Mel Brooks' treasure and headache. Big-hearted humorist arrived on silent movie with a never-ending smile. That was the issue. Dom laughed at everything. Props squeaking, crew sneezing, jokes unfinished. Mel yelled, "Act." Dom laughed before speaking, ruining take after take. Happy to hold it in made him laugh harder, and day 1 ended in overtime. Dom had one line on History of the World Part 1. As Nero's food taster, Madeline Kahn glanced at him slyly, and Dom laughed so hard he tumbled off the marble seat and wheezed for 45 minutes. Resetting lights cost hundreds, yet terminating him was impossible. Finally, his clean take shined like nothing else on film. Mel used camera trickery to hide Dom till the last second, making performers inspect their shoes. The man's laugh was uncontrollable. He sweated in Spaceballs hut suits melting pizza. He snorted more as the cheese dripped hotter, requiring sound editors to cut nasal outbursts. Dom served everyone off camera. He brought lasagna, cannoli, and stories of Brooklyn childhoods and first-night stage disasters, closing each story with more contagious hilarity. Dom cost me more film stock than any explosion, and Mel publicly taunted him. He shouted, "Why keep him?" Dom had pinpoint timing after the giggles. Starry eyes, melodic voice, audience adoration. Mel says his hate jokes are frustrated affection. Dom ruined schedules but made every movie cult. Why? Brooks remembers DeLuise as the sweet tornado who converts sets into circuses for nearly a century. Proof that sometimes the most expensive headache is the key to everlasting hilarity. Precision diva Madeline Kahn made Mel sweat silently. If Dom DeLuise laughed apart takes, Madeline Kahn asked questions. Brooks calls her delightfully annoying. The only artist who could stop a 100-person crew with a courteous eyebrow, and why. Blazing Saddles was their first fight. Lily vaunched up, pouted, slinked, and sang, "I'm so tired" into comedy legend before challenging Mel on every detail. Why sequins, not feathers? Why is the piano stage left? Why would Lily lean, not lounge? Each answer prompted further questions, making the set feel like an oral exam. She arrived calmly as Klieg lights roasted extras. Crew members quietly timed her entrances. Mel fumes softly and executes each take with Swiss watch precision. On Young Frankenstein, she played Elizabeth, powdered wig, prim voice, operatic screech. Mel wanted silly fun. Madeline supported aristocratic elegance. She combined both after 10 takes, creating a classic, delicious mystery of life scream. After high fives, she requested another angle to capture Satan at his best. Her anxiety-induced detail radar was legendary. Lens furniture, hospital tent, and decisions trouble. She once claimed a cheap couch devalued her character's abode. Mel felt she stalled. Daily photos showed the replacement couch perfectly. Mel had no blood pressure, Madeline won. Calm and courage were her weapons. If she murmurs, that joke fails, requiring Brooks to rewrite. He compared commanding her to storm wrestling a cat, hidden claws or felt. She drank tea and read literature like a librarian on break between takes. She erupted with micro-gestures that made viewers miss the following line while giggling. Madeline never raged or pouted. She rejected good enough. Delays drained Brooks, yet every scene she touched became bulletproof. The hate was code for appreciation, he eventually revealed. Frustration of a director exhausted by an actress with greater demands. Brooks' wild horse, Cloris Leachman, was unbridled. Cloris didn't disrupt plans with laughing or queries. What if she could turn Frau Blucher's solitary gaze into a dissertation on buried torment? Brooks spent mornings defending punchlines to a Chekhov-like comedian. On her first day at Young Frankenstein, she inquired why horses yell her name. "Because you're scary," Mel joked. Cloris said fear doesn't motivate. "Give me history." 20 minutes later, actors debated whether Blucher whipped or married stallions. Mel eventually grumbled, "Let's roll with the humor." Cloris nodded and shouted her hidden tale into the camera, stealing the scene. Her method? Question every prop, angle, and word. Shut the curtains. Which trauma made her fear sunlight? Push in camera, show she'd tolerate closeness. The grip quip that each lighting setup included a philosophy lecture, instructing her while saddling a Mustang that asks why the saddle exists. She was stubborn, not harsh. In high anxiety, she brought a notebook of demands as Nurse Diesel. Tighter bun, tougher shoes, heavier German accent. Mel filmed them all to survive. He then found her extras funnier in the cut than planned. Even background ferns were vulnerable. She halted production until a happy plant was removed. Result? Darkened scene. Laughs hit harder. Crews adored and dreaded her. After baking cookies for electricians, she viewed lasers through directors. Newcomers muttered, "Is she mad?" "No, she's thinking," said veterans. After a 12-hour day, Brooks craved soup and silence. He continued rehiring her since each fight boosted the film. Mel now admits he loathed working with Cloris in interviews, because she was right. Her stubbornness made him defend every joke, refine every beat, and avoid shortcuts. Watch Frau Blucher's slow wink or Nurse Diesel's frozen smile. Hours of quiet combat are condensed into 5 seconds of comedy gold. Brooks' love-hate list includes Leachman forever for that alchemy, the invincible force whose inquiries made mischief masterpiece. Lightning bolt Richard Pryor rewired burning saddles. Pryor's voice reached Mel Brooks before a page. Fearless, raw, perfect to play Bart, the black sheriff who detonates the status quo in a racist town. He gave that and turmoil in the writer's room. Carnival-style writing sessions. Pryor sometimes arrived with napkins with 2 a.m. quips about beans and racism. Other days, he arrived late, exhausted from nightclubs. Brooks preserved all his risky ideas, half of which were impossible and revolutionary. Pryor poked holes in Western stereotypes and filled them with censor-bashing gags. Campfire fart symphony? Pure Pryor. Mongo's life pawn? Pryor again. The studio read about drug raids, walkouts, and terror. They wrote that he can ride but not star. Brooks fought. Promise supervisors said Pryor's erratic behavior constituted the film's essence. The brass declined. Clevin Little played the badge well after inheriting it. But Brooks always saw Pryor on that horse, eyes flashing, anything can happen. Pryor remained volcanic while being sidelined. He disappeared for hours during a desert rewrite, returning at midnight with a hotel phone playing a racist western. Flip this. Laugh at it. Kill it, he said. The insult was a punchline that targeted bigots. Muttering, he dives into darkness and emerges with dynamite. Volatility never stops. Pryor missed 2 critical studio sessions. He's honing jokes. Business leaders weren't duped. Premiere night, Pryor sat next to Brooks. Bart bruised Mel's arm when the crowd yelled at his lines. He murmured, "That was supposed to be me." Mel replied, "Always." Decades later, Brooks disliked Pryor and others. Brilliance kept him awake. He says he loathed no-shows and anxiety. No blazing saddles, simply another cowboy farce without Pryor. Pryor's combustible truth turned a joke into a Hollywood blockbuster. Hate, more like eternal appreciation with scorch marks. Bancroft, the ex-wife who boldly edited the director. She who shared Mel Brooks' pillow shook him like no other actor. Anne Bancroft, an Oscar winner, Broadway veteran, and Mel's partner of 20 years, entered stage 12 with a study thesis, like script for To Be or Not to Be. Every scene had neon stripes, feather-shaped sticky tabs, and mysterious margin comments. Why? This age story. Pages were full with truth. Anne, Brooks joked that her binder might sink the set if the sprinklers went off. Initial dialogue placed them against each other. Anne's persona was designed to mock her spouse. She wanted idiot. Mel yelled clowns harder. "Trust me, dear." "Anne, cool as a sniper," said fool sounded sharper. More European and more embarrassing for a Warsaw theater director impersonating a Nazi puppet. 45 minutes passed. Electrical workers pacing, cameras idle. Married film royalty debated one noun. Anne one skirmish. Try laughing louder. Rewritten script. That conversation determined the shoot's pace. Regarded every beat like a courtroom exhibit, requiring motive before acting. Mel, the master of controlled mayhem. Let inspiration lead and tech crews follow. Anne brought new color tabs and questions regularly. At line 3, why cross downstage? That parquet would Anna's shoes squeak? Did the orchestra pit smell dust or cologne? Due to its humor, Mel's default answer never survived her stare. The couple practiced a crucial scene halfway through production. Must slap her husband to deceive Gestapo. Desired a cartoon tap. Anne said real dread requires impact. They practiced lightly. The moment was fake. Anne swung her arms fully on the first film take. Mel's cap swirled. His cheeks lighted up like symphony lights, and every Nazi extra shuddered in fear. Print it. He weaved, icing his face between setups. He subsequently remarked that welt was technique acting at its best and made the cut. They'd close the door to their tiny trailer. Brew Earl Grey and rewrite between skirmishes. Disputes turned into laughter. On napkins, more jokes appeared. They returned minutes later smiling like prom dates, crew members marveling at the rapid temperature shift and filling tail gaps. Mel didn't notice, blocked wartime humor and protected secondary characters who risked their lives for comic relief. The film tightened with each fix. Fixes took time, pride, and Mel's bedtime. "My career's toughest expenditure is Anne," Brooks says. "She ate up my time, money, and ego." She cleaned the movie picture by frame until it gleamed. He adds without skipping a beat. Only Bancroft could challenge him at breakfast among his mythical impossible performers. Slap him by midday and clasp his hand on the way home, illustrating that wedding bands can encase the most intense creative clashes. Now your turn. Name that surprised you most? Leave a comment. Click like and subscribe. Remember that if Mal calls you impossible, you're doing well.